Good morning and welcome. I am so happy to be back at South by and super grateful that you've joined me here this morning. As you know, we're going to talk about the science and craft of storytelling, and they are important and awesome if you want to make people care. But I was searching for a way to communicate the essence of this talk, and I found it sitting on the beach on the leg of someone I adore. My daughter's girlfriend, Lulu, has a tattoo on her leg that says, "Feel it all." So if you take away anything from my talk today, I hope it will be those 3 words printed forevermore on Lulu's leg. I'm feeling it all right now, and excited to show how the most successful companies make us feel it all through the stories they tell. They make us laugh and cry. They open our eyes to a more expansive view of ourselves and others. They provide us with a sense of possibility and connect us in our shared humanity. That is more important than ever in our lonely, divided, anxious world. And in return, they're rewarded with revenue, loyalty, investment dollars, and awards. I've been telling stories like this for several decades as a writer, producer, and director. First feature films, then documentaries, and more recently, working with brands and leaders to help them tell their stories. I'm going to share tactics today that will help you form an emotional bond with your audience and mobilize them to action. Because we're in the advertising track, I'm going to bring those tactics to life primarily through brand spots, but they're applicable far beyond marketing. In about 25 minutes, I'm going to play a spot that features a girl recovering from an eating disorder, and I share that now in case it would be triggering to anyone here. We're going to look at the tactics through 3 guiding principles. So first, guiding principle, make it human. One way to make your storytelling and brand human is to tell stories that feature people who express the full range of human emotion, people who feel it all. My most recent project is a film about foster care in New Jersey and the extraordinary people there who are trying to overhaul that broken system. 80% of children in foster care don't belong there, and Black children are hugely disproportionately represented. Christine Beyer, the Commissioner of Children and Families, is on a mission to transform that system. Her 2 main goals are to keep families together instead of breaking them apart and to combat systemic racism. To drive this transformation, she brought in people who had grown up in foster care to work with her agency and design a system that would support families so they never become a call to the hotline in the first place. And to drive widespread support for that transformation, she hired me to make a film. I suggested that we feature the co-designers, the people who had grown up in foster care, since they embody the need for these changes and because they were the drivers of this particular initiative. The film's about to have its world premiere at a film festival in 2 weeks in New Jersey, quite appropriately. I'm excited to share with you today, first ever public screening of any footage from the film, and most of all, I'm excited to introduce you to 3 people I've grown to know so well and love so much making this film.
Throughout my childhood, I lay in bed at night wondering where I came from, why I should continue to be. I was suicidal at 6 years old. I had no sense of why I mattered and where I belonged.
I've been through foster care since age 4, then moved into a psychiatric hospital, then 60 placements in the next year. Rapid, you moving. My experience in the system was survival.
I was taken, I was placed, I was put through the system. It makes me an expert in something I never wanted to be. But if you're gonna give me that knowledge, respect it. You don't get to do the harm and then not listen when I say it harmed me.
I don't ever want to try and defend what happened to someone at the hands of child welfare. I decided in doing this job that I wasn't going to make excuses.
It is possible to transform an entire system. At the heart of it is really the voice of those with lived experience, driving the change.
Usually when community is asked to offer input, the system sets the table. But we're just showing up at the table that you are consistently setting for us.
Me and you are a team, so we have to work together. I'm not here to take your children or anything like that. We want to keep your family together.
There's love here. There's love out here. The system could have gave me anything that says comfort on it, but nothing that says family. So when we talk about reimagining the system, we talk about reimagining the system with more ANCALs, right? With more families that's able to support.
Removed from everything that you know, the work that we're doing is going to prevent that from happening going forward.
I feel like we're starting the revolution, but the revolution is a long time coming in child welfare.
I'm not here to say it's all bad, but in order for us to fix it, you have to hear the raw, the grief, the loss, the celebration, the beauty, and listen to all of it. And let's give each family the absolute best chance to make it.
It was such a gift to film with Tamia, Deshawn, and Kayan. And everyone who has seen this film so far comes away convinced of the pressing need to mobilize around this transformation. And that's because Tamia, Deshawn, and Kayan shared the full range of human emotion, feelings that we've all felt at some point in our lives. Tamia's yearning for a sense of belonging and identity. Deshawn's need for safety, security, love, and family. And Kayan's demand to be seen, heard, and respected. And by igniting these feelings in us, their experiences become our experiences. And this brings us to a storytelling truth. We care about, relate to, and bond with people, even if they're very different from us, when they express emotions that we feel. That is the power of empathy. Neuroscientists have discovered how this works. When we're moved by someone in a story, we have a spike of a neurochemical in our brain, oxytocin. Oxytocin is called the love hormone because it drives human connection, empathy, trust, and our desire to help and support others. If you watch the full 40-minute film, you would go on a journey through Tamia, Deshawn, and Kayan and lose yourself in them. This is called narrative transportation. And the remarkable thing is, when we're on a journey of narrative transportation, our brain waves sync with the emotions and behavior of people in a story. So we're no longer just observers, we become participants in the action. If you want to change someone's attitudes and behavior, there is no better way than taking them on a journey of narrative transportation. Fostering this kind of empathy in your audience requires that you, the storyteller, show up with the same kind of empathy. It requires deep listening. When I'm working with someone to help them tell their story, whether it's filming Deshaun in this movie or working with a leader, helping that person show up and be more human and relatable, I start by listening and building trust. I ask lots of questions, I respond with compassion, and I share my own emotions too. It's usually a profound journey of understanding and connection for both of us, and that enables me to see and capture things from their point of view, and for both of us to show up and be faithful and genuine in telling their stories. I am merely, as a storyteller, the conduit there to draw out the humanity, whatever matters to someone most, and reflect that back out to connect with and inspire others. Christine Beyer, the commissioner in New Jersey, showed up in her full range of emotion too. She sat and cried with the co-designers during the co-design process. She, in filming with her, was so incredibly honest with me because she believes that she can't transform the system unless we look at the problems honestly. But most importantly, she showed up with a full heart also and listened deeply because she knows that is the only way she and her agency will be able to meet the needs of families in New Jersey. So a second way to make your stories human is to feature experiences that are relatable to your audience. The Farmer's Dog, a dog food company, understands how to do that well.
I'll always take care of you. Hey, little bear bear. Gonna be a good boy?
Don't worry, darling, about the rest of our lives.
From this day forward.
Through thick and thin,
Come on, baby.
I'll be there by your side.
Oh.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Hey, bear.
So I have a question. Who here can relate to this beautiful love letter to dogs? Well, a lot of you. You're not alone. Forever was viewers' favorite spot in last year's Super Bowl, according to USA's ad meter, beating out huge brands and spots with major celebrities. It also united our divided country in something universal, the love between people and their dogs. The story of how Go Iramoto, the director, was chosen for this spot is as moving as the spot itself. When he read the script, he was flooded with emotion, remembering his best friend from his formative years. PK, this black lab. PK got cancer when she was 6. She recovered and lived until 13 and a half. But Iramoto could relate viscerally to the theme of this spot of having more years with your dog. But he had never directed a dog before, and he was afraid he wouldn't get the gig. So he took a risk. Instead of sending his portfolio to the creatives at the Farmer's Dog, he sent them photos of PK and photos of him with PK through the years. Oops. The previous slide was the one we landed on for the spot, but you just saw PK, and now here's Iramoto with PK. So in the pitch meeting with the creatives at the Farmer's Dog, he brought them to tears, not once, but twice. They, in turn, listened to their feelings, and they hired him. We all love to put people in a box. And when I'm being considered to direct something, people often wonder, well, has she done this thing before? And it doesn't matter if a storyteller has told that exact story yet. What really matters is, can the storyteller get to the emotional center of an experience, which Iramoto clearly has done. And in making Forever, it enabled him, 10 years after he lost PK, to process and mourn that loss. This brings us to another storytelling truth. The more emotionally connected you are to your story, the more you can forge an emotional connection with your audience. Emotions played a big role in how Forever ended up on the Super Bowl as well. The company made Forever to run as 30-second spots in local markets. But when the CEO and other leaders at the company saw it, they felt so moved, they took the big financial gamble of taking out a full 1-minute spot on the Super Bowl. Their courage and conviction and trusting their feelings paid off. A third way to make your storytelling human and relatable is to be authentic. That is also how we as people show up as most human and relatable. Apple has nailed that in this next spot.
Hey Siri, set my morning scene.
It's currently clear and 71 degrees. Today's high will be 80 degrees.
Open weather, swipe left.
I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was.
Describe images.
Look like a butterfly, sing like a bee. His hands can't hit
A painting.
what his eyes can't see.
A red jacket.
Now you see me, now you don't. Sonny think he will, but I know he won't. Last week I murdered a rock, injured strong, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
I have wrestled with the alligator, tussled with the whale.
Turn right.
Tap, take picture. Tap, take picture.
Two doors detected. Text to stage. Door 4 feet away. I shook the world.
Isn't that great? The greatest is so great because it's based on the real life experiences of the people it features. And also because it celebrates them with so much love and joy in their fullness, not for what they lack, which is how people with disabilities are often portrayed. Kashmir Culbertson the woman who drives and puts on makeup with her feet, has said this: "I have spent so much of my life trying to change people's perceptions of what I am capable of. The greatest was an opportunity to do that on a large global scale." And she's right. This spot has been seen by tens of millions of people around the world. It's won a lot of major awards, including an Emmy, and it illustrates the power that companies have to tell stories that drive uplift, change our perceptions, and drive brand love at the same time. Because it's Apple products that help the people in the spot achieve their greatness, we fall in love with Apple too. And this brings us to another storytelling truth. If you want to highlight what you're selling, your product to consumers, your vision to your team, your startup idea to investors, lead with a human story and integrate what you're selling in service to that story. We can see from this spot that Apple also has the authentic right to be telling these stories. Accessibility is one of their core values, very important to their ethos. They build accessibility into all their products and services from the get-go, working with disability communities. We've seen a huge backlash lately in purpose in advertising, because people are fed up with hearing about it and not seeing action. People want both. So brands still need to figure out their values, embed them in everything they do, as Apple is doing, and then tell stories that amplify those values. So how do you find these stories? That brings us to the second storytelling principle. Listen to your heart to find your story. In this way, you can uncover profound human truths that will form a bond with your audience and might even revolutionize your brand and the world, as has been the case with Dove. I'm going to play a spot that features a girl recovering from an eating disorder. Dove made this spot to drive awareness and political action around the harm of social media on children's mental health.
Emma, sit down and I will read you a book. Good job, Mary. Hello for Mary and Addie's comedy show.
You want a small waist this summer when your favorite product is here. All right, that's it. Come on. No. Get yourself a tape measure. Thigh gaps are in.
You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for, everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see?
Pretty incredible. So this powerful spot is one of many Dove has made the past 20 years as part of their larger Real Beauty platform, with the mission to help women and girls feel beautiful just as we are. They've tackled a huge range of issues, including in their Dove Beauty sketches, encouraging women to embrace our beauty, to combating race-based hair discrimination, and helping girls feel confident in their bodies so they don't drop out of sports. Dove supports these initiatives with a lot of education, outreach, philanthropy, and often political action. Again, like Apple, we're seeing action and then stories around that action. The Real Beauty campaign launched in 2004 with this billboard. Just ordinary women with some simple prompts questioning conventional female beauty norms. This might not seem radical, but at the time it was. And up until then, Dove's advertising was focused on the product primarily through pretty customary customer testimonials. All of that changed when a few women working at Dove listened to their emotions, to their heart, and then got their male colleagues on board by igniting their emotions. The conventional origin story of Real Beauty goes like this. Dove surveyed 3,000 women in 10 countries and learned that only 2% of them felt beautiful. The survey happened, the results are real, and helped drive the PR campaign when Real Beauty launched. But Daryl Fielding, one of the originators, gave an interview recently in which she says Real Beauty actually originated 3 years prior when she and some of her female colleagues were in a room together looking at competitors' ads. And one of the women piped up and said, "These ads are preying on my insecurities and they make me feel like crap." And the other women in the room realized they felt the same way. They wondered, was it just them, or did other women feel this way? This set them on a 1-year journey looking at the psychology of self-esteem and looking at beauty stereotypes around the world. And what they discovered was this was universal. They wanted to do something about it, but their male colleagues didn't believe them. So they did something really bold. Again, we see the importance of risk-taking. They reached out to the wives and daughters of their bosses. It's always good to do something that might get you fired. And when they learned that they felt the same way, they had them send in, there was no uploading in those days, they had them send in photos and quotes about how they felt. And they cut them together in a video set to Joe Crocker's song, "You Are So Beautiful to Me." And when the men saw their own wives and daughters talking about feeling less than, they realized that the company should do something about it. This brings us to another storytelling truth. If you feel something deeply, look into it, because there's probably a really great story there. So listen to what makes your heart leap, break, sing, scream, then get others on board by stirring their hearts too. The Real Beauty campaign was revolutionary. For the first time ever, a beauty brand said to women, "We see you, we understand you, and we love you just the way you are." And women and the world loved Dove back. Again, all great relationships are built on mutual care. Dove received 30 times in free media exposure what they had spent on the original campaign. Their revenue went from $2.5 billion to $4 billion in only 3 years. Dove soap became the top-selling beauty soap bar in the US and the top-selling product across all of Unilever's portfolio worldwide. And because a few women listened to their hearts and followed their emotions and got others on board by doing the same, Dove has been at the forefront of challenging and expanding into a more inclusive, less rigid view of female beauty around the world. So once you've found your stories, how do you tell them? And this brings us to the third storytelling principle. Turn your brand into a character, like Liquid Death has done. For the uninitiated in the room, Liquid Death sells water and tea in these cans. The company launched only 5 years ago, and thanks to their brilliant storytelling, they had revenue last year of a few $100 million. They also have a cult following of many millions of people. A few hundred of them show their love by doing this. Several 100,000 of them have signed away their souls to join the virtual Liquid Death Country Club. This gives them early access to the limited edition merchandise that sells out immediately, like the Martha Stewart severed hand candle and the Steve-O voodoo doll. Remarkably, Liquid Death sells equally well in 7-Eleven and Whole Foods, and among men and women. Mike Cesario launched Liquid Death with 2 goals. He wanted to entertain people and reduce plastic waste. He had worked at several major ad agencies and had grown tired of doing what he called the safe, boring thing. He realized that if he wanted to create the marketing that he wanted to make or see, he would have to launch his own product. This helps explain why he and others at Liquid Death see themselves as a comedy entertainment platform that just happens to sell water. They want to be the funniest thing anyone sees in their day and to spread joy and laughter. Yeah, we had enough heaviness, right? Now it's time to laugh. Let's see how they spread joy and laughter.
Someone on the internet said, "I'd rather lick sweat off a fat guy's back than drink Liquid Death." Introducing the Better Than Back Sweat Official Taste Test. We invited 10 real people and professional fat guys at Zacat's homes in for a real taste test.
I'm gonna have you try A first.
Oh, I like this.
I love it.
That's good. Well, go ahead and have you take a lick of B.
You want me to lick his back?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Has anyone licked here yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's get that.
Sweet Jesus. All right. Okay. I prefer A. Definitely A.
I'm good with this.
I'm gonna go with A.
I prefer A, for sure.
It's official. 10 out of 10 real people prefer the taste of liquid death over licking the sweat off a fat guy's back. Try it for yourself. See if you agree.
If you were to pour A down B, you'd have a margarita. And yeah, that's a margarita.
That's pretty crazy, right? I mean, anytime I see anything Liquid Death puts out into the world, I feel shock and delight. And then I think, did they really just do that? So Andy Pearson, their VP of Creative, likens their creative process to the comedy room, to being in the writer's room of a comedy show, and Liquid Death is the character. He has defined what this character can and can't do based on the values of the company. Again, their company ethos. And that is hugely liberating for everyone there because they can take huge creative risks as long as they stay within those guardrails. And like Darrell Fielding, they follow their hearts. Andy Pearson has said, Liquid Death is, quote, really just an amalgamation of all the things we find interesting. Heavy metal music, art, absurdist comedy, health and environmental issues, sketch comedy, all thrown into a bag and shaken up. They spend most of their marketing dollars creating content, which they release on their own channels, and they make a lot of it. They don't believe in pre-testing. They learn as they go. So they look at the data from each release and they figure out the next things from that. Again, here we see active, engaged, in the moment, responsive listening. He says, Andy Pearson, he likens it to being at the mic of a comedy show. And this enables them as well to be nimble, to tap into pop culture, and to never be too precious about anything. It's a great strategy because you never really know what's going to work. So if something doesn't work, that's okay because they are so prolific. So here again, science gives us wonderful insights, this time into the interplay between risk-taking, creativity, and Liquid Death's enormous success. Researchers can predict who among us are most likely to engage in creative activity based on our appetite for failure and public disapproval. It turns out that the most creative people fail a lot, but they don't care what people think. So they learn as they go, and they have so many outsized successes that make up for the failures. Liquid Death clearly is comfortable with who they are, their values, their ethos, and they don't care what we think. If we find this crazy universe they've created compelling, we are welcome to join. And if we don't, we will end up in their marketing, like we saw in the spot I just played that was inspired by a comment on the internet. I would rather lick a fat man's back than drink Liquid Death. My favorite are the songs and music videos they've created in collaboration with leading music performers with lyrics taken from their hate mail. You can even buy the Greatest Hates vinyl box set. I encourage everyone to listen to the Spotify playlist. It's actually brilliant. So this brings us to the next storytelling truth. To create anything that stands out and drives results, you need to know who you are, your values and ethos, big theme we've seen today, and then take bold risks. This helps explain why Liquid Death appeals to the hard-to-reach millennials and Gen Z, who make up 70% of their customers. Gen Z is now 70 million strong, 1/5 of our population. They're wary of advertising and spend a lot of time in online niche communities. How brilliant of Liquid Death to create their own communities that Gen Z wants to be a part of. And it makes sense because Gen Z and Liquid Death share 3 primary values: authenticity, humor, and sustainability. Let's watch one of Liquid Death's environmental PSAs.
Do you want the ultimate beach body? Well, luckily there's an infinite supply of plastic right here at the beach. Introducing the Liquid Death Recycled Plastic Surgery Center. Hi, I'm comedian and board-certified plastic surgeon, Whitney Cummings. Did you know that plastic recycling is a myth? Research shows that only about 5% of plastic actually gets recycled. The rest winds up in landfills or oceans, but now it can wind up in you. Thanks to our proprietary and somewhat pain-free surgical method, a sexier planet begins with a sexier you.
Now I'm practically oozing with beauty.
Thanks, Liquid Death.
Now we can use old plastic bottles to enhance anything. And I mean anything. The best part is, since plastic never breaks down, you'll look good long after you're dead. So come visit us at the Liquid Death Plastic Surgery Center today. And remember, I'm not just the spokesperson, I'm also a client.
I don't know about you, but for me, that is a far more visceral and effective call to action than being lectured at. I would wager the next time you see a plastic bottle, your brain will conjure up images of Dr. Cummings and her patients. And a shout out to South by for this year banning plastics. That is great. So there is a lot of Liquid Death envy and admiration out there. But few leaders and companies have the courage to do what they do. Why? Because they're afraid they might offend someone. Happiness guru Gretchen Rubin in Oracle did a poll of 12,000 leaders and consumers worldwide, and they found that 91% of consumers want to see humor from brands. But 95% of leaders are afraid of humor. Liquid Death feels that being bland is a far greater risk than offending someone. They feel that laughter and joy are the greatest human emotions that drive connection. And given their huge success, I would say they're probably right. Or they are right. So, as we come to a close, I would like to invoke the greatest storyteller of our day, Taylor Swift. How does Taylor Swift make us care? She feels it all. And then she tells stories, both through her songs and how she lives her life, which is a story unto itself, unfolding every day, that make us feel it all. In fact, Taylor Swift personifies the three guiding principles we've seen today. She makes it human. She expresses emotions and experiences that people, millions of people around the world, can relate to, even if we can't relate to her fame and her fortune. She's also incredibly authentic. She lives by her values. She knows what they are, and she lives by them. She listens to her heart to find her story, and in the reverse of Liquid Death, she has turned her character into a brand, showing how interchangeable the two are. But let's not forget the tattoo on Lulu's leg. Feel it all. I hope everyone here today has felt it all. That was my goal, to show how feeling it all is at the heart of telling stories that make people care. The craft and science are super important, because without them, it's really hard to do that. But it all starts with feeling it all ourselves, and then helping others feel it all. I need it. I'm feeling something right now. So I urge everyone here to feel it all, to work that into the stories you tell at work and outside of work, and to listen with an open, engaged heart so that you can hear what others are feeling as well. Thank you. I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has any. These are awesome questions. They require, actually, some thought. One is, what messages are working best to promote people caring about sustainability? And I am not a sustainability expert, but I will say that I think that the messaging around sustainability, anything that shames people or that makes people feel doom and gloom about the world, really is not effective. Because if, you know, I'm a strong believer in telling stories. We have to end, you have to show a problem, but then you have to end on uplift. My film, Truth to Transformation, there's a lot of pain in that film, but most of all, it's a celebration of love and family, and it shows the way forward with solutions to a problem. So I think with sustainability, there are a lot of people who have thrown in the towel. They're like, well, we're all screwed, so why should I even bother? And that is a horrible message, because we can all make a difference. And the other thing is that if we shame people, they're not going to feel mobilized to take action. So that is, you know, and I would love to tell sustainability stories, but ones with hope and love for our planet. I'm curious on how we might apply this topic to the research or design field, when we must share back insights and help them get prioritized. I mean, the design field is so wide. You know, the Truth to Transformation was one kind of design. IDEO led the design thinking of bringing in people with lived experience and working with them. You know, there's graphic design, there's so many areas of design, but again, I think it all starts with, it's not just listening to one's own heart, because it is important to look at data and, you know, but to try to find the human truths in everything. I think data is awesome and important, but really at the end of the day, it's, you know, getting to those human truths and prioritizing those, and especially what matters most to your audience. I mean, it's always, when I'm hired to make a film or a video or launch video, anything, I always ask, who's your audience? What's most important to them? And then how do we bring that to life in a way that is going to move them to action? How do we make them feel? So I think it always boils down to, how do you make others feel? And the question was, how do you get others on board? That way too. So, do you build your brand values on what your customers care about or around what the brand cares about, and then the customers come to the brand? I feel, again, if you want to be authentic, I think it always starts with the brand, because it can't just be about what the brand says. It has to be what the brand does. So Mike Cesario at Liquid Death, he cared a lot about reducing plastic waste. So that's why he created cans. So I think that it's always what is a company's values, and then how do those values get articulated in absolutely everything the company does, from, you know, onboarding employees, hiring, company culture, their messaging, everything. So I think just like us as human beings, I think it starts with us. Who are we? What's important to us? And then how do we share that out into the world through our work, through how we treat others, through how we dress, through everything. As a storyteller, what do you feel is the biggest obstacle to feeling it all? I love that question. As a storyteller, I have no obstacles to feeling it all. When I'm in it with people, I'm feeling it all. The greatest obstacle is the fear from clients. The fear, people are really afraid of emotion, and they're really afraid to be uncomfortable. You know, feeling it all is messy. It's uncomfortable. I am really comfortable in discomfort. And again, I mean, Brene Brown is here speaking at the I mean, she's all about vulnerability. I mean, before I made Truth to Transformation, I had, you know, I spoke to the people, to Tamia Deshawn Can, and I asked them, are you up for this? We're gonna go on a really intense emotional journey. I don't want to take you through anything that's gonna be triggering for you or uncomfortable for you. They were so keen. They were so keen to tell their stories so that others don't suffer in the way they have. But the greatest obstacle is other people, and especially when it's client work. Clients, you know, Christine Beyer, the commissioner, was awesome. She let me make such a raw, honest film. It's full of love and joy. It's not all trauma, but she knows that the only way, as I said before, to transform the system is to be honest about its failings. So, you know, I'm so grateful to her that she, even though it was a client project, I did this, you know, I was hired by them to make the film. She allowed me to make a very honest film. That is the only way that we're gonna move an audience. Like Liquid Death, you know, if you're bland, you're not gonna stand out or move anyone. So how do you convince leaders to take the risk with storytelling and be wildly original? Again, that dove example, I try to crack open their hearts. I try to build trust. I try to show them examples of other stories that other people in their space have told, and how like the more honest and powerful ones have been the effective ones. I mean, when I made a film following 6 young people for a year and a half launching startups in Detroit, Generation Startup. And UBS and PwC, their charitable arms, funded the film. They were brave enough to give me the editorial control. So again, I was able to make a very raw, honest, ultimately uplifting film. But again, they were on board from the get-go, like any good relationship. And especially when I'm hired and as a client project, at the end of the day, I will always do what's comfortable for the client. I mean, I'm being hired by them. I mean, I did a brand spot for a national women's brand, filming with real women about how it feels to get older and still feel comfortable in our bodies. And it wasn't about the clothes, though we're wearing the brand's clothes. And some of the best spots or comments from these women about sagging breasts and other things about their bodies that were so funny and so relatable, the CEO was uncomfortable with it. And the creative director at the brand fought that battle. I didn't have to. At the end of the day, it didn't end up in the funniest spot. The things didn't end up in the spot, and it's like, okay, whatever the people are comfortable with. And even filming, with people like, when I was filming with Tamia, Deshawn, and Kayen, I'm always very sensitive. I really feel like when I can keep going, and when somebody puts a boundary up, and I sometimes ask, like, are you comfortable? Can we keep going here, or should we change the topic? Or I just, because it's not, I'm not looking to grill someone to a point where they feel in any way uncomfortable. People love to tell their stories when they're game for it. They love to be seen and heard and honored. I think we all do. So I don't know if we have time or if that's it. The questions went away, so I think that's a sign. Thank you all.